Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and explore the fascinating 20-year evolution of one of America's most exclusive pieces of real estate. We're looking at a property in Alpine, New Jersey, a town that's long been known as a quiet, ultra-private haven for the ultra-wealthy. Over the course of 2 decades, this very specific parcel of land has transitioned from a sprawling Gilded Age style family estate to the site of a heavily regulated multifamily inclusionary housing development. By following the paper trail, looking at property sales, real estate listings, and municipal planning board minutes, we really get a front row seat to the changing landscape of American real estate.
$58 million. Just let that number sink in for a second. What's really interesting here is that back in 2006, this was the record-breaking price for a 63-acre estate sold by Emily and Dr. Henry Clay Frick II. And yes, Dr. Frick was the grandson of the legendary American steel magnate Henry Clay Frick. When this transaction closed, brokers widely reported it to be the highest non-waterfront residential sale in the entire United States. It was literally the ultimate private playground, sold to a real estate investor who immediately set about subdividing this massive plot of land to sell off individual pieces.
Now, to really wrap our heads around the macro-level extravagance of this era, let's fast forward a bit to 2018. On just a portion of that newly subdivided Frick land, a massive stone mansion was built and listed for sale at $45 million. But here's the kicker. If you bought it, you'd be hit with an eye-popping yearly property tax bill of $323,000 every single year. It's a stunning figure, right? But it perfectly captures the sheer scale of wealth concentrated in this single enclave, which sits just 8 miles from Manhattan.
So how do we get here? Tracing this evolution over 20 years, we see a massive shift. In 2006, the Fricks sell the entire 63-acre property. By 2010, the subdivided parcels are hitting the market, including that stone mansion, which, by the way, was originally listed at $68 million before dropping to $45 million in 2018. Then, we jump to August 2025, where the remaining 22.6 acres of this exact same property become the subject of an intense Alpine Planning Board hearing for a new project called Lily Pond Estates.
Section 1. The Frick Estates Legacy.
Back in its golden age, the Fricks left behind a completely insulated 7,000 square foot home sitting on those 63 acres. Emily Frick, who was a noted sportswoman, and Dr. Frick, a longtime president of the Frick Collection, packed up and relocated to a $3.9 million co-op on East 77th Street in Manhattan. And this wasn't just any apartment. It was an incredibly exclusive, clubby building with its own tenant-only restaurant and direct views of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Their departure really marked the end of an era for the Alpine Estate as a single-family dynasty compound.
Section 2. New Jersey's priciest home.
Fast forward to 2018, and a piece of that newly subdivided land became the absolute ultimate symbol of peak luxury. The new construction at 18 Frick Drive officially became the most expensive home on the New Jersey market. We are talking about a 30,000 square foot showplace tucked behind a private gate. I mean, listen to this. 42 rooms, 12 bedroom suites, 19 bathrooms, an indoor basketball court, a spa, and a 4,000-bottle wine cellar. Outside, you've got a 65-foot saltwater pool, a tennis court, and garaging for 11 cars. It was designed from the ground up to provide the absolute ultimate in luxury and total privacy.
Section 3. Enter Lily Pond Estates.
Now, jumping ahead to 2025, the remaining 22.6 acres faced a heavily regulated future. But to really understand that shift, you have to hear how people used to talk about this land back in 2006. Brokers spoke of the Frick's world with this very Gilded Age language. Real estate agents openly discussed how buyers in their orbit had to be board qualified socially. It represented this untouchable exclusivity of a totally bygone era.
Contrast that old world wealth with the reality of today. If we look at the August 2025 Alpine Planning Board minutes, the remaining Frick land is subjected to incredibly strict, gritty logistical requirements just to put a shovel in the ground. To build the new Lily Pond Estates, developers have to import 10,000 cubic yards of soil. They have to apply for specific permits just to remove a tree with a 6-inch trunk. They need exhaustive Department of Environmental Protection stormwater manuals, and they have to secure these complex sanitary sewer permits. The land is definitely no longer a private kingdom. It is a highly regulated municipal project.
Section 4. Luxury meets affordable housing.
So, this brings us to a completely new reality for the property. It's now designated as a COA 3 zone district, which is driven by the state's Council on Affordable Housing. Following a 2023 settlement agreement between the developer and the Borough of Alpine, they're building 40 total units on this former mega estate. 32 will be market-rate townhomes, and 8 are designated as affordable housing units. According to the borough planner, this is actually the single largest inclusionary development the municipality has ever seen, designed specifically to meet New Jersey's third-round affordable housing obligations.
The plan meticulously balances out the different housing types. The market-rate units will have 3 to 4 bedrooms with massive parking capacities. We're talking 2-car garages plus 4 driveway spots. Meanwhile, the 8 affordable units will be housed together in a single building on the west side of the property, offering 1 to 3 bedrooms in their own garages and driveways. When it's all done, the entire site is planned to host 138 residents. That completely transforms the density and the whole makeup of an estate that used to be totally isolated.
Section 5. Navigating Community Concerns.
Of course, you drop a 40-unit development into a super-exclusive enclave and, well, you're naturally going to get some pushback. The planning board minutes map out a pretty stark conflict here. On one side, the developer's engineers assure the town that the site will generate only 26 peak-hour vehicles and that the drainage is perfectly engineered. But on the other side, local residents from the surrounding streets voiced some serious real-world fears. They were really worried about potential localized property flooding and the safety hazards of residents trying to make dangerous left-hand turns onto the busy, county-owned Closter Dock Road during rush hour.
Just to clarify the technical side of those flooding concerns for a second, the developer's drainage system is designed to handle what's called a 100-year storm standard based on 2021 regulations. Now, despite that engineering standard, runoff is such a sensitive issue in Alpine that Mayor Paul Tomasco actively pushed the board to bring in an independent expert. He wanted to verify the stormwater documents, basically saying they shouldn't just rely solely on the developer's own environmental impact statements.
And look at this regulatory pipeline. It perfectly captures the modern bureaucratic maze you have to navigate today just to handle sanitary sewer lines for new residents. Because the site sits near a stream that runs into the neighboring town, the developers can't just plug into a pipe and call it a day. They need local Alpine approval, a legal capacity agreement from the borough of Demolished, a will serve verification from the Bergen County Utility Authority, and final DEP approval. It's an absolute staggering level of red tape compared to the old days of just dropping in a single-family septic system.
So, what should you really take away from this explainer? Mostly, it's the stark contrast between two very different eras of real estate. We've transitioned from an era of unchecked macro wealth, where literally one family could dominate 63 acres of prime land, to the micro-level realities of today's community planning. Today, it's all about affordable housing mandates, independent traffic studies, and really intense environmental scrutiny.
Which leaves us with a pretty big question to ponder. As affordable housing mandates and zoning laws continue to evolve, and as the sheer logistics of maintaining massive properties become increasingly scrutinized by local municipalities, will we ever see private family estates of this scale and isolation built again in America? Or is the Frick estate the ultimate blueprint for how the Gilded Age footprint will be steadily erased and repurposed for the future?